Bill Cowher, NFL Today, CBS analyst, former coach, former linebacker. His jaw's probably clenched right now. Coach joins us. Do you remember your first concert you went to, Coach?
You know what, Dan? I'm so glad you were playing that Eagles song. And you know what? The Eagles was one of the first ones I went to, and them and Fleetwood Mac. So, boy, that kind of hit hard yesterday.
Yeah, well, you start to look at the ages of these guys, and, here's Glenn, who's 67. Now, David Bowie was, around the same age.
69, I believe.
Yeah, so it kind of, mortality kind of sets in a little, in a different way for, when you're over 55, where you start to go, boy, he wasn't that old. Whereas somebody in their 20s are going, oh, yeah, he was 67 or he was 69.
And you know as well as I do in sports how much the impact of music has had with us. I think there's such a great connection there with that. And also the connection with food in sports, which is why we're talking a little bit. We had, I was able to partner with PepsiCo this year for the Game Day Grub Match, which is basically some students from the Culinary Institute of America in a little competition, and I was on the panel for it, and we had the winning team that, how about this for a combination? They had a chicken wing, a shrimp pot sticker, and an egg roll, all part of a dim sum platter. They have to use like 8 different PepsiCo ingredients, but it was pretty amazing, and they're going out to the Super Bowl with us.
GameDayGrubMatch.com to see the competition.
Yes.
Speaking of food, the Packers, Mike McCarthy said Eddie Lacy has got to lose weight. Now, you had Jerome Bettis.
Yes.
Did you ever have that conversation where you had to tell Buss, look, I need you to play at a certain weight?
Yeah, we absolutely. I mean, we did talk. We talked about it. We had people weighing in on Friday, but Jerome was like one of those boxers. He weighed in on Friday, but I'm sure it wasn't the same weight he was at on Sunday. So, I remember seeing a red velvet cape coming in on Saturday night, and everyone was huddled around it. So, but you know what? I think what Mike was saying for Eddie was basically that he's too early in his career. I mean, I think for him to have sustainability and for him to be the guy he needs to be through a course of a season, you have to have that conversation. Maybe a little surprised it went public like that, but certainly I think those conversations a lot of coaches around the National Football League have.
If you were facing Peyton Manning, how would you? What's the approach that the Patriots will have with Peyton?
Well, I mean, every time you play him, Dan, the one word I always use is disguise. The one thing I think that Peyton Manning has right now, and he's always had that, is the ability to get pre-snap reads. So the importance of making sure that you can disguise what you're doing, because he will get them in the right play, not just passing play, but even running plays. And we saw that, I think, at its best in that last drive against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they were forced a little bit to maybe be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, even some of the quick throws he threw outside, and to Sanders, and obviously the big third down throw was huge, but and he got him into some running plays, and so I think that's the biggest thing to me going against Peyton Manning is you have to be able to disguise things, you have to mix it up, and just to try to keep him off balance there.
I thought Brock Osweiler gave them a better chance to win, but I guess at this time of the year you're banking on the experience, not necessarily athleticism.
Yeah, I think it's a little give and take. I think when you look at what does Brock Osweiler give you? He gives you athleticism. He's gonna run the play. He's not going to see the things that Peyton sees, and I think that's the thing we saw that in Week 17 with San Diego. In that game, they couldn't get him moved. All of a sudden, here comes Peyton into the game, and so it really does. You can't undervalue the importance of a quarterback who can read a defense and get you in the right play. And I think that's what we saw with Peyton against San Diego in the second half of Week 17. And I think you saw that last week again in the fourth quarter against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He's Bill Cowher. Go to GameDayGrubMatch.com to see the competition that he took part in. If you didn't have a Super Bowl win, would you still have the hunger to coach?
That's hard to say. You still have the hunger to coach. I mean, I really like where I'm at right now in my life. I've really enjoyed the Thursday night football, being on the sidelines, and even in the studio right now with CBS and having the opportunity to talk about the game every week. Going out this week to Denver, and we had the Super Bowl 50 this year. So, again, I think it's I did it for a long time. I thought I had the best job in football. I stepped down, understood that, and and right now I'm in a good place, Dan.
Last time you were broached about a coaching job?
Oh, you know what? There's people that are kind of, they're trying to gauge my interest yearly. But I never allowed it to get to that. Honestly, it's not about being talked back into it. I think when the day comes, if I ever want to get back into it, I think I'll be the one making the phone calls. They shouldn't be calling me. I should be calling them.
Well, the same thing with Tony Dungy is that he would still field calls, and then he would say, "Look, I tell them I'm not interested," but they still didn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case, and it's very flattering, honestly. And again, and if somebody wants to know, I'd give them my opinion who I think the best candidates are. I mean, I think there's nothing better than in the National Football League and to have parity and to see organizations thrive, to see them heading in the right direction. It is a process. Every year it comes down, and you go through a season, and and you have an opportunity to potentially win a championship. And when it's all over with, you're kind of restructuring, retooling, retweaking, doing the things you need to do the next year to make your football team better and to give your city hope. And so I think we have the best sport in the world. I think that we're doing a good job of making it safer. And like I said, I mean, what other sport can you sit there and we're talking about game day food that you can eat during the course of a game. You can go to the refrigerator. You can make these things. We have so many stoppages. And so it's the greatest TV event there is, and it's just entertainment at its finest, and that's why there's a chance to sit there and talk. I mean, we actually have now a game day grub match. People are now trying to come up and design foods. That's the best thing for a 3-hour football game.
I love it. Hey, Coach, great to talk to you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dan.
That's GameDayGrubMatch.com for more on that.